All right, so everyone can come up to stand. Okay, perfect. You can hear me. And then just have a bit of space around you so that you're not going to hit anything. And then just let your knees be nice and soft. Inhale, reach your arms up overhead. You can arch your back, whatever feels good. And then exhale, just bring your hands down. And then again, inhale, reach up. And then exhale, lower all the way down. And then you're going to bring your hands onto your ribs and just take a nice big inhale. And then on your exhale, just flex your abdominals as hard as you can and then hold and then try to take an inhale. And it will probably be very hard. And then you're just going to inhale and then release your squeezed abdominals. One second. Okay, and then this time you're going to bring your hands onto your ribs, take an inhale, and then as you exhale, feel your ribs draw towards one another, and you can use your hands to kind of bring your ribs together, like squeeze them in. And then exhale, breathe wide into your ribs, and then exhale, let it go. Inhale, extend your ribs wide to the side, and then exhale, draw them towards one another. Now you're going to bring your ribs or hands onto your ribs by your thumbs and your hip bones with the rest of your fingers. And let your knees be soft. Make sure you're not hyperextending here. And then you're going to inhale and feel your ribs and hips draw slightly towards one another. And then as you breathe here, feel that connection in the front, and then just gently poke on your abdominals and then release everything. Poke on your abdominals again. They're probably a little less tense, but now squeeze your abdominals as hard as you can and poke. It's super hard when you try to breathe. It's super hard to breathe. So just think about that rib to hip connection where you can hold that. You feel the engagement of your abdominals, but you're not holding your breath. You can still breathe. Everything is comfortable, and you're still going to feel your ribs knit towards one another. So keeping your ribs, hands on your ribs and hips, you're just going to inhale and then feel them come a little bit closer together, feeling your tailbone tuck under ever so slightly, and then release. And then on your exhale, feel your ribs come closer to your hips, and then release. And it's really hard to see with the thing behind me. There we go. And then, so you're not tucking your tailbone under all the way, but it's just that slight lengthening of your low back. And then one more time, ribs towards your hips, draw your abs up and in. And then from here, bring your arms down by your side. Keep still thinking about that connection in the front. You're just going to float up onto your toes, and then exhale, lower back down. And then inhale, float back up onto your toes. Exhale, lower all the way down. 2 more. Lifting up, feel the crown of your head stay tall towards the ceiling as you come back down. 2 more. Up. And then lowering all the way back down. Last one, lifting up. Keeping that rib to hip connection in the front. You're just going to take your right leg back behind you into a lunge. You want your knee directly under your hip, and then you're just going to reach your arm up and side bend over to the side, keeping that connection in the front of your abdominals, and then come back up. You're going to bring both hands onto your hips, making sure that your hips stay nice and square. You're going to lift all the way up, and then keeping your crown of your head going tall, lower down, and then lift up and back down. So both knees are bending at a 90-degree angle, keeping that slight tuck in your hips, ribs to the hips in the front, so your abdominals are engaged. 2 more like this. Last one, your shoulders stay nice and relaxed. Come to the top. You're going to come sideways. Your toes are pointing out, and then you're just going to bend your knees wide to the side, knees right over your toes, and then squeeze your heels together, lift up. And then again, lowering down, keeping your ribs to the hips in the front. And up. 4 more. And up, breathing as you go. And make sure that you're breathing before you move, not after you start moving. It'll make it a little easier. Last one. And now you're just going to rotate again towards the other way. So your right leg will now be in front. Hinge in that right hip joint, lowering down and up. 4 more. 3, 2. Last one, stay down. Think about that rib to hip connection. Lift your left arm up. Side bend up and over. Really reach long through that left side. And then come all the way back up. And then from here, bring your legs all the way together, right leg out to the side, and then right leg back behind you. And then reach it to the side, hand back behind you. Again, keeping your abdominals connected in the front. Squeeze through that hip, the outer hip, and then the glute as you reach back behind you. Thinking about getting extension through your hip and the front of your leg. If your knee's bent, No problem, but just keep it bent the whole time. 2 more. Last one. And then bring it back underneath you. Square yourself again, and then left leg out to the side. Squeeze from the back, and then bring it around. 6 more. What? Oh, it's fine. Last one. Bring that leg underneath you. And now you're just gonna keep that rib connection, soften your knees a bunch, and then hinge at the hips. Reach long, your crown of your head away from your tailbone. Back is nice and flat. And then you're just gonna roll all the way down. And then just bring yourself over to the left and over to the right. And then you're gonna soften your knees a bunch, draw your abs in, feel your ribs draw towards your hips, so your back is nice and rounded. And then you're gonna peel yourself up one vertebrae at a time, and just let your shoulders and head find their spot on top of your spine. And now you're gonna come to lay on your back. And we're gonna move the computer, so 1 second. That's fine. Okay. That's fine. Oh, okay. Yeah. So now you're gonna lay, I'm gonna turn around, on your back with your feet bent, feet planted on the floor rather, and your head pressing into the back of the mat. If you have your hair in a ponytail, move it out of the way so that your whole head is flat on your back. And then you're just gonna bring your ribs towards your hips again, and just find that connection where your back isn't pressing, your low back isn't pressing into the mat. You're in a nice neutral spine, but you still have that connection through the front of your body. Your ribs are drawing towards one another, and your back ribs are pressing into the mat. So you don't want your upper back lifted where you have, a little bit of space underneath. You really want to press your back ribs into the mat. Bring your arms up in line with your shoulders, palms face one another, and then reach your fingertips up towards the ceiling. Your shoulder blades will lift off the floor, and then let them fall back down towards the mat. And then again, feel your shoulder blades draw away from one another, and then let them fall back down. Just a few more like this, feeling your fingertips grow long, and then keeping a little bit of that length as you bring your shoulders back and down. 2 more like this. Ribs are heavy on the mat, ribs are drawing towards one another, and you have that connection in the front of your abdominals. Last one, find that neutral position for your shoulders. And now reaching long out of your fingertips, like you're moving through molasses, you're gonna bring your arms out to a T. And then keep reaching long, and then squeeze your arms up towards the top, moving nice and slowly, creating resistance for yourself. You're gonna bring your arms back up. And then again, reach them out to the side. Nothing is moving except your arms. And then exhale back up. 2 more. And then as you come, or you're gonna lower down, and then as you come back up, feel like the outside edges of your shoulders are still reaching long to try to keep some of that width through your collarbone. And then last one. And then exhale, come all the way back up. Now you're gonna turn your palms to face your legs, and you're just gonna let your arms float overhead. They can either be parallel or slightly wider than your shoulders, and then press back up. So the way you know you went too far is if you lose all that connection in the front of your body. If your ribs start to lift off the floor, if you feel them start to flare in the front, you went too far. And that doesn't matter. Just make your range of motion a little smaller. Last one. Good. And then from here, bring your arms down by your sides. Roll your shoulder blades your shoulders nice and wide. Upper arms are externally rotated slightly in your shoulder socket. And then you can walk your feet in closer to you a tiny bit. And then feel your hips now draw towards your ribs, and then keep bringing them towards your ribs. And you're gonna peel your spine up off the floor, 1 vertebrae at a time. The weight will be nice and heavy in your shoulders and your head. Heels drag towards your shoulders to engage the backs of your legs, and then curl yourself all the way back down 1 vertebrae at a time. So curling your tailbone under, ribs towards hips, peel yourself up. Make sure you still have that connection in the front of your body and you're not arching like a yoga bridge, and then come all the way back down. And this next time you come up, you're gonna stay up. Before you start to move here, feel your shoulders draw towards your heels, engage the backs of your legs. And now nothing's gonna move but your pelvis. And you're gonna lift your left hip, lower your right hip. Think about still reaching long with that right thigh, and then come back to the center. So your ribs are staying still and you're only moving your pelvis, I guess, around your spine. You could think of it that way. Keeping your upper body nice and relaxed. This can be a super tiny move. And then one more time to each side. Lift that left hip, rotate the right one, keeping them nice and square so that one isn't coming closer to your shoulders than the other, and then pause at the top. Here, take your hands and bring them to either side of your hips, sort of the bony part just on the outside of your glutes. Feel your heels draw towards your shoulders, and then you're gonna press your hips over to one side, but your ribs and knees stay where they are, and then come back to the center. And then over towards the other side. And if having your hands on your hips is not a useful sensation for you, just bring them down by your side. And then over to the left, sort of like you're the thing on the top of a typewriter. I don't know what it's called. One more time to each side. Over to the right. Knees reach long, thighs reach long to the center, and then curl yourself all the way back down. And then here, you're gonna bring your hands under or behind your head. Your pelvis is nice and neutral. Your tailbone is nice and heavy. Sacrum is heavy on the mat. You have that tiny bit of space under your low back. You're gonna nod your chin. Let your hands take the weight of your head, and you're just gonna curl yourself up. And then here, look at your pelvis. Make sure your hips are even. One isn't coming up. Your knees aren't out to the side. Think about everything drawing in towards the center here. And then you're gonna lower your head all the way back down. And then nod your chin, have your gaze come to your thighs or the tops of your knees, and then lower all the way back down. Two more just like this, feeling your ribs slide towards your hips in the front, and then back down. Last one. You're gonna pause up here, trying to keep your shoulder blades lifted off the mat. And then you're gonna extend your right leg long, but not all the way to the floor. And then you're gonna lift it up towards the ceiling as high as your hips stay still, and then lower it back down. And then you're just gonna float it back up and back down. Keep reaching long through the sitting bone on that right leg, right sitting bone toward your left heel to keep your hips nice and square. And then lower back down. 4 more. If it's too hard for you to keep your leg long, you can just bend your knee to whatever amount of bend you need. Some days my leg can go long, other days it can't. Last one, lift it up. Holding onto your head with your right hand, extend your left arm, right leg, and then reach them up towards each other, and then lower back down. And then reach them up towards each other, but they don't need to touch because you still want to keep your pelvis nice and still. Reach up and back down. Again, keeping that right shoulder blade off the mat if you can keep it there. And if not, that's fine. 2 more. And last one, tailbone is heavy. And lower your head down, lower your leg up towards the ceiling. Here, same thing, if you need to bend your knee, by all means. Cross your leg over your center line, lower it down, up, around to the ceiling. Your left leg shouldn't move. Just that right leg is moving in your hip socket, over, around, and up. 4 more in this direction. 3. Still keeping your back ribs heavy, ribs to hips connected in the front, and breathing. Last one. And then here, externally rotate your legs from the top of your hips. So whatever your foot's doing, it should follow your leg, not the other way around. And then bring it out to the side, back in, around, and up. And then out, down, around, and up. 6 more. 5, 4, check in on your pelvis. 2, and last one. Good, and then lower that leg down. Hands come behind your head. Lift your head, neck, and shoulders up. Again, really let your arms support your head so that you're not straining your neck at all. Extend your left leg long, and then lift it up and lower back down. Again, making sure your tailbone's nice and heavy, your hips are nice and square, making the range of motion only so big that you can move nice and smoothly through that left leg only. 3 more. And if you want to be fancy, you can like flex your foot on the way down. Last one. Good, extend your right arm, left leg, reach it up and lower back down. You can think about sliding your right ribs over towards your left hip to get a little bit more rotation through your torso. but only touching that leg if you can without tucking your tailbone under and rounding through the low back. 3 more. 2. Last one. Good, and then lower your upper body, bring that leg to the top, cross it across the center line, down, around, and up. And then again, down, around, and up, keeping that right leg nice and still. If you find that you can straighten your right leg and still keep everything still, go for it. I cannot. 2 more. Last one. And then reverse. And again, if you need your knee bent, no problem. Just keep your knee bent at the same bend through the whole circle. 4 more. And if you feel clicking, just make your range of motion smaller unless it doesn't hurt. I don't like the noise, so I just make my range of motion smaller. Last one. Good, and then lower that leg down. Bring your hands behind your head, curl your head, neck, and shoulders up, bring your right leg into tabletop, bring your left leg up to tabletop. You're gonna rotate towards your right leg, extend your left, pause here, extend your right leg, bend, come to the center. Twist over to the left, extend your left leg, bend, come to the center and pause. Trying to keep your shoulder blades off the mat the whole time. Really think about your ribs coming towards your hips rather than your knee needing to touch your elbow. That doesn't really matter. And if you can't get your legs straight, who cares? It doesn't have to look pretty. And no one can really see most of us, so it doesn't matter. 2 more to each side, drawing your abs in. Really think about the rib-hip connection in the front, curling up. And then bring it in, bring your knees into your chest, and rock back and forth from one side to the other. You're gonna plant your feet, bring your arms out to a T, and then just windshield wipe your legs from one side to the other, keeping them bent. They should feel nice. You can bring your hands to like a little cactus pose if that feels better. 1 or 2 more times each side. You can widen your feet if you need. Good, and then from here, everyone is gonna roll onto their right side. And then you're going to have your feet and legs stacked one on top of the other so that your hips are nice and square. You want a tiny bit of space underneath your side. And then your head is just gonna sort of fall down to the floor, and you want your feet more or less in line with your glutes. And then you're just gonna stack both arms on top of one another. And then you're just gonna drag your left arm on top of your arm across your chest and out to a T. Your hip should still stay stacked as best you can. In theory, both shoulders will be on the ground. Unlikely, because we all like work at desks and sit and use computers and then come back and over. We're gonna do this 3 times. But if you feel like you need to just stay and breathe, by all means, go for it. And then this time you're just gonna hold, take a big inhale, exhale, try to melt towards the floor. And then again, inhale, exhale, melt towards the floor. 1 more time, inhale, feel your fingertips reach away from one another and melt towards the floor, and then come all the way back. Now you're gonna bend your right arm and you're gonna make a little pillow for your head so that your neck is nice and long and your head is in line with your spine as best you can. And then you're gonna keep your feet together. Nothing of your lower body changes, hips are stacked. Feel that little bit of space underneath you and then feel your abs connected in the front. And then you're just gonna clamshell your top leg open. You'll feel your glute engage or outer hip and then back down. And then lift it up, resist back down. The more you resist back down, the more your inner thighs will also be involved in the fun. I guess you can call it fun. 4 more. 3, and if having your arm bent underneath your head isn't comfortable, you can extend your arm all the way long and use your bicep. 2. And last one. Now you're gonna lift your foot, knee down, foot down, knee up. So you're just alternating what lifts your foot and your knee, and you're just feeling the rotation in the top of your leg or in your hip joint from your femur as you internally and externally rotate that leg. 3 more here. 2. And last one. Good. And then you're gonna float your top leg off, flex your bottom leg, and you can bring your foot out a little bit away from you so that it's more of a kickstand. And you're gonna reach through the heel of that left leg and extend it all the way long. You wanna have that extension through the front of your hip, but draw your hip up. You wanna make sure that you're still connected and that your hips are square. And then you're just gonna hinge at the hip and bend that knee back to 90 degrees. And then reach through the foot, extend that leg all the way long, feel a little squeeze in the hamstring, the glute at the bottom, and then hinge at the hip to come back up. You want to keep your leg at the same height as you bend and straighten. And if you'd like, you can bring your hand just to where your glute meets your hamstring, and you can feel it get a little squeeze, your finger, from your leg as you extend. And if you hold there, you can also see in the front of your leg whether or not that hip is extended fully. Last one here. You're gonna leave it long. You can point or flex, it doesn't matter. Lower your leg down and then lift it up just a few inches. And then lower down, resist, lift up, resist. Again, like you did with your arms in the very beginning, trying to create that inner resistance for your leg. You can make this as hard as you want for yourself. You just sort of flap your leg around. It won't be very hard. 2 more. And last one, reaching long through the toes, you're gonna do medium-sized circles like a dinner plate. Keeping your hips totally stable. Use your top arm for support. Use pressing your head into your arm for support. Your bottom leg can press down, and then reverse. And you can get a little bit of that hip extension in your circle as you reverse this if you can. For me, when I start to go there, I start to rock a little, so some days it's easier than others. 2 more. Last one. Leave your leg long in line with your hip. You can flex it or floint it, leave it alone, whatever. Internally rotate your leg and then externally rotate your leg. And now internally rotate your leg, lower it down, lift, lifting your heel, externally rotate, lower your heel. Lift from the toes internally and dip, lift, externally rotate, lower, lift. 2 more times. This is kind of a killer for all those little muscles in your hip. And last one. And then just let your top leg come long and then let your right leg, or left leg rather, bend over the front and just relax for a moment. And then you're going to just roll right onto your stomach, but I'm gonna move around over here. And then you're going to place your elbows right underneath your shoulders and then just let yourself hang out there. It's kind of hard to tell, but my low back is totally arched, and obviously I have no neck because my shoulders are drawing towards one another. So I'm gonna press my arms into the mat, lift myself up, reach long from the crown of my head, and then feel my ribs draw towards my hips in the front of my body. So I am lifted off the mat slightly, but my thighs are still heavy on the mat, as is my lower pelvis. And then you're gonna reach long through your right toes, and then bend the knee, reach long through the knee away from you. Keep lifted through your upper torso. Pulse your leg in and then release. And then switching to the other side, bend in, 1, 2, and then extend. Keep drawing your ribs towards your hips in the front. If you feel this on your low back a lot and you can't get out of it, then you can lay on your stomach with your forehead resting on your hands. But if not, if this is okay for you, then you're just gonna keep pulse, alternating legs, one and then the other. And we're gonna do 1 more to each side, keeping your knee in line with your hip, not out to the side. Now you're gonna reach both legs long, bend at the knee and pulse in and release. And again, if this is too much on your low back, just come down onto your forearms, but keep pressing away from the floor. Your gaze should be slightly in front of you at the edge of your mat. 2, and last one. Here, bring your knees wide, bring your heels together, come down onto your arms, and then drop your forearms onto your hand. Wait, no, drop your forehead onto your hands. From here, squeeze your heels together, draw your abs away from the floor, relax your upper body as much as you can, squeeze your heels together. If you start to feel your glutes engage here, that's awesome. And then if you'd like, you're gonna press the soles of your feet towards the floor, reach your knees long, and your thighs will float up maybe 1/4 of an inch, maybe not even leave the floor, and then lower them down. And then squeeze and reach up, and then lower down.
Still reaching through those knees. Hips are nice and heavy on the mat. Abs are away from the floor. 4 more. These should be a killer. You should probably feel them in your glutes. The more you squeeze your heels together, the more intense the sensation will be. And last one. And then extend your legs long. Bring your arms by your side. You can have your head cheek down to one side. You're gonna lift your arms up, reach long, roll your shoulders back, and then come to have your nose float on the floor. Reach long through your fingertips, draw your abs away from the floor, reach your arms up a little more, and then lower down halfway. Roll your shoulders back, lift, and then lower down and lift. Again, if you feel this in your low back, make your range of motion a little smaller, make sure you're breathing, and make sure that you're drawing your abs away from the floor. This next time, you're gonna come up and pause, and then start to pulse through the arms like you're lifting your triceps for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Neck is nice and long, gaze is on the mat. 3, 2, 1. Lower your arms and then bring your thumbs towards one another over your butt and then lower down. And then bring them towards your thumbs towards one another and lower. And lift and lower for 8, 7, 6. Feel your triceps squeeze in as you lift. 3, 2. Last one. Hands down onto the floor and press yourself back into a child's pose. And then you're gonna come now onto your other side, which would be your left side. Sorry, can't remember. All right. So starting out with that nice T-spine rotation, hands are stacked, knees are stacked, hips are stacked, feet are in line with your glutes. Drag your hand along your arm, along your chest, reach it out to the side. Keep reaching long through that top knee, and then bring it back. And again, if you want to do one and stay there because it feels good, go for it. And then this next one, we're gonna stay there for 3 breaths. Will be our last one. Inhale, reach long as you exhale through the knees, the fingertips. Feel yourself melt down. Inhale, exhale. One more deep breath. And exhale. Bend the arm and come all the way back. Bring that arm underneath you for support in whatever way is comfortable. And then you're just gonna start with those clamshells. Keeping the feet together, hips are stacked, just internally or just externally rotating that leg, the top leg. And using your top arm for support or a hand on your hip, doesn't matter. Whatever you're doing, just keep that shoulder nice and relaxed. For 5, 4, 3, 2 more. Last one, leave the knee lifted and then lower it down, lift the foot. And then lift the knee, and then lift the foot. For 6, 5. Breathing, and again, just checking in on your abs, make sure they're alive. They're still working for you and you're not just sort of laying here hanging out. Last one, I think. Sure. All right, and then you can kick your top leg out in front of you to be a little bit more of a kickstand. Bring your left leg up to a 90-degree angle so it's in tabletop, up in line with your hip, foot, knee, everything at the same height. And then reach long through that leg. Feel that little squeeze in the back of your leg. Your hip is an extension, and then hinge at that hip to come back in. And then again, extend your leg long, reach through the heel, and then hinge and bend it back in. 4 more like this. 3, 2 more. Again, trying to create as much resistance as you can. Last one. Leave that leg long, and now you're gonna lower it down, lift it back up. But as you shoot your leg long, feel it come back up into your hips so that you're still engaged through your upper body, and then lower and lift. And your foot can be pointed, it can be flexed. I don't care. It almost never makes a difference in my mind. 3, 2. Last one, lift it up, circles.
for 8, 7, 6. Again, you can get that little bit of extension through the front of your hip as long as you're staying connected in the front and you're not arching your low back. And then reverse for 8, 7. Pressing down through that bottom leg. 5, 4, 3, 2, last one. And then you're going to internally rotate and externally rotate. Just do 1 or 2 here, just rotating from the tops of that thigh. And then you can start to lower the heel and then add the lift and lower with the external and internal rotation. And if it doesn't feel good on your hip to lower or lift, don't do it. You'll still get plenty out of just that rotation movement. For 5, 4, 3, hips stay stacked, 2, last one. And then straighten that top leg, bend and let it fall forward, and then just give your leg a moment to rest. And then you're gonna come onto your backs, and you're gonna have your feet planted relatively close to your butt, and you're gonna bring your ribs toward your hips. Take one big exhale, inhale. That was the other way around, inhale. Exhale, feel your hips draw towards your ribs, press into your feet, curl yourself up one vertebrae at a time. And then here, keeping yourself lifted, the connection in the front of your hips, so your hips aren't popped, ribs aren't popped. And then you're just going to put all your weight into your left leg. You're gonna hinge at the right hip, bring it up to tabletop or lower, doesn't matter. And then you're gonna switch sides. And if this is too much for you, all you're gonna do is you're just gonna lift your heel and then lift your other heel. Your hips don't need to be exactly lifted into the full height of your bridge. If you want to do this here, supported, your abs are engaged and you're only an inch off the floor, by all means, go for it. Doesn't really make a difference. You're going to do 2 more here. Last one. And then you're going to pause with that right leg in tabletop. Flex your foot here, lower your hips down 1 to 4 inches, whatever, and then press and lift. And then bend that knee in toward your chest, extend your leg long, reach through the heel, bend and press. Keeping your hips nice and square, making sure that however much you lift and lower them, your whole pelvis is going. You want that left leg to still stay in towards the center. 3 more. 2. Last one, pause if you can keep your hips lifted, lift your leg up, lower down. You're only doing 5, 3, hips are long, or hips are square rather. Last one, bend that knee in, lower down, curl yourself down 1 vertebrae at a time. And then bring your left leg across your right, so you're in a figure 4 stretch. And then bend your right knee in toward your chest, grab the back of your right leg. You can flex your feet if you'd like. You can bring your legs side to side, whatever feels good. Just take a few breaths here. Think about your left sitting bone reaching long towards that right heel to kind of square yourself out in the torso. And then uncross your legs, bring them back down to your bridge. Curl your tailbone under, lift yourself up. Bring that left leg into tabletop, lower it down a few inches. Lift and press. And think about the press going more out than up to get that length through the front of your hip on both sides. 5 more. 4, 3, pressing through your arms, your head. You can bring your arms wider if you feel like that helps give you a little bit more support, or you can bend at the elbows. 2. Last one, leave yourself lifted. Lift your leg and lower. Lift and lower. Lift and lower, square your hips. Last one, bend that knee, put it down, lift your arms up, reach them overhead if it feels good, try to keep your ribs connected, and then curl yourself all the way down, bring your knees into your chest, and rock back and forth from one side to the other. And then from here, you're gonna roll up, and you're gonna come to all 4s. I'm sorry, you're not gonna come to all 4s. You're gonna come onto your stomach. I got ahead of myself. So this class, just for any planning purposes, we'll end right around 5. And you're gonna come to lay on your stomach. And then here, you're gonna have your arms, out to a T. And then you can have your head down for a moment, relax your shoulders, and just rock your hips back and forth from one side to the other. Give your back a little bit of a break for a second. 1 second, okay. Okay, so your hips are rocking, and then bring your nose to a hover just above the mat. And if you have a ponytail, flip it back so that it's not like pulling your neck down. And then draw your abs in the front. Feel that little bit of length on your low back. Legs stay down, and then reach long through your fingertips, lift your arms up. Lower them most of the way down to the floor, but not all the way, and lift. Lower and lift. And you want your hands right in line with your shoulders. You don't want them above or below, but they can lift higher than your shoulders. That's fine. For 8, 7, feel your shoulder blades draw in towards your spine. Fingertips keep reaching long, creating a little bit more length. You can lift your torso up as high as is comfortable for you. 2, last one, bend at the elbows. Keep your shoulders in line with your elbows, and then reach your arms long, and then bend, resist back. Reach overhead, bend back. Reach and bend. And if you need to lower a little for this one, no problem. You can also stop and take a break. Breathing as you go. Inhale, exhale, draw it in. 4 more. 3, 2. Last one. Extend your arms long, lower down, lower your head. Shake your hips out. You can shake your shoulders if I guess that sort of works. Okay, and then from here, you're gonna leave your head down. Have your neck long, so have your forehead on the mat. And then you're gonna reach long through your fingertips, and you're just gonna think about lifting your arms from your back and your upper arm rather than your hands. So you may not even lift your hands off the mat. You're gonna draw your abs in. You're gonna lift to a hover and then lower back down. 2 more. Lift and lower back down. Lift, trying not to feel this in your neck. If you feel it in your neck, you can lift your head up. Last one, and lower all the way down. From here, bring your arms a little bit narrower, but still overhead. Head is lifted, chest is lifted ever so slightly. You're gonna float your right and left arm away from one another to lift off the mat, and then lower back down. And then switching sides, lower down. Feel the engagement of where your glute meets your hamstring, just like we did in like 8 other things so far today. Ribs draw towards the hips, abs draw away from the floor. Keeping your weight even in the hips as you rotate, or switch rather, from one side to the other. And then from here, lift everything up. If this is too much on your shoulders, bring your arms back behind you. You're gonna start to flutter kick your arms, flutter kick your legs. Breathing as you go, inhaling and exhale. You can also do this with bent arms. Inhale, exhale. 2 more breaths. Last one. And then lower everything all the way down. Press back onto your heels. Have your knees nice and wide. Round through the back. And then just take a moment here. 1 more breath. And then come over to the left. Reach back through that right hip. And then over to the other side, this time reaching back a little bit more through the left fingertips and the left hip. Giving yourself a stretch there. Good, and then coming onto all fours. So you want your hands to be right underneath your shoulders and your knees right underneath your hips. And when you look at your arms, if your arms are like this and your elbows are going in the wrong direction from the way that they're supposed to bend, soften them. You don't want your arms bent all the way, but bend your arms and then just think about pressing the floor away, and you'll be able to find that supported non-hyperextended spot for your elbows. And then you're gonna feel your shoulder blades draw towards one another, sort of the other version of what we did when we started with our arms lifting and lowering. You're gonna
Feel the rib connection in the front. So you're supported through your torso. And then keeping that support, you're gonna slide your shoulder blades towards one another, letting your chest lower, and then press away and lift. And then letting your chest sink down and lift. And as you lift and lower, your neck will sort of disappear a little, that's fine. But make sure that the crown of your head is going long away from your tailbone. As you lift, give yourself that length in your neck. And then your neck will also be a bit more supported and not kind of hanging out there. Last one, pause here. Curl your tailbone under, round your spine, ribs towards the hips, and then drop the head. And then from here, you're gonna uncurl your spine, but you're only gonna lower your abdominals so far that you're keeping that extension, or sorry, the connection, and then just lift your chest. So you still want this connected. You don't wanna be here, that's bad. You wanna be here. And then curl your tailbone under and lift. And then uncurl, keeping the connection in the front, length through the spine, curl it under. And then last one. Good, and then from here, you may need to change where your knees are, whatever feels comfortable. You're gonna do like small circles around your wrists. You're gonna do 2 in each direction. Your elbows can be soft for this, if they can bend and straighten. And then pause, and then you're gonna turn your right fingertips back towards you. Again, have that elbow be soft, left fingertips still face forward, and then do 2 circles in each direction, and then reverse. And this is kind of a decent stretch for your wrist. If this is too intense, then you're going to just keep doing the circles without rotating your wrists in different directions. And then reverse, or you can just make them smaller or hold there, whatever works for you. And then you're just gonna turn your fingertips away from you, and same thing. You have 1 more of these, rotate your circle around the other way. And then fingertips in, and same thing, this is comfortable. The goal is to keep the heel of your hand on the floor the whole time. This is like a super intense stretch for me through my wrists and my fingers. Too much texting. All right, and then bring your hands underneath you, knees underneath you, have that support in the front of your body. And then you're gonna extend your left leg, extend your right arm, float them up, and then tap them back down. Nothing is moving besides your right arm and left leg. Your hips are square, your abs are engaged, pressing through your whole left hand, not just the heel of your hand and your fingertips. 3, 2, last one, bring it underneath you. Switch sides, right leg extends long, left arm long. Again, make sure that that elbow isn't hyperextended, float it up, tap it down. Feeling your hamstring and glute engage, feeling your arm lift off your back more than from the hand. If some of what I'm saying doesn't make sense, that's okay. Maybe one day it will. 3 more. 2, last one, bring it underneath you. You're gonna take your right hand behind your right head, not behind your right head, behind your head, extend your left leg long, lift that left leg up, bend and rotate, feel your right ribs go towards your left hip, and then extend. And then bend and rotate, and extend. 2 more. And extend, last one. Now keep your leg long if you can. If you need to drop it to the floor, that's fine. You're gonna open your chest up, keeping the hips square, square your shoulders, and then reach it up, rotating around that left shoulder. Last one. Good, and then lower down. You're gonna switch sides. Left hand behind your head, right arm, right leg reaches long, and then bend and rotate. Drawing your ribs and hips together, abs draw in. 3 more. 2. Last one. Feel the lift in your glute, especially here if you're leaving your leg lifted. Draw your abs in, and then externally rotate. And then square. Keeping your hips square. This side I get way less rotation, but rotate around that right side, and then back to the center. Lower down and sit back on your heels. So if your wrists have had enough
You can come onto your forearms. We will need to use our wrists at least one more time, if not two, before the end of class. So if you're on your forearms, you're just gonna have your knees underneath your hips, tuck your toes under and lift, and you'll be right here. And if you're good to be on your hands, you're gonna come to this position. But before you lift, if you're on your hands, bend your elbows, rotate your arms around and lift, engaging your serratus right here on your back, and then press through the toes and lift. You're gonna extend your left leg back behind you and then bring it in. Nothing moves except your leg. Everything is still. 4 more. 4, 3, and last one. Good, drop your knees. Here, draw your abs in, lift, hold, lower down. One more time. Inhale, exhale, lift. Inhale, and exhale, and then lower down. Now you have a few options. We're gonna lift our arms. So you will need to come onto your hands and knees, but you can leave your knees down if you'd like, or you can lift them up, your choice. You're just gonna float your arm up as high as you can, and then lower back down, keeping everything nice and still. We're gonna alternate sides. So you're either gonna be here with your knees on the ground, you're gonna have your knees lifted, which is really hard, or you can have your knees lifted and you can just bend your arm, pull it away, trying to keep your weight still. Depends on how much of a challenge you'd like. We're gonna do 2 more to each side. And last one. Good. Still staying on your hands, and then we're all gonna come onto our forearms. You're just gonna float your right leg out to the side like a dog peeing on a fire hydrant, and bring it back down. And then open it up to the right, and then back down. 6 more. Only going so high that you keep that length through your right side. So I can't go very high, but some people may be able to like fully open their leg to the side. 3. Put a little bit of extra weight into your right hand so you're as square as possible. Last one. Switch sides for 8, over to the left. 7, 6, 5, pressing through your whole hand. 3 more. 2. Last one, and then come down onto your forearms. And then from here, bring your leg in line with your hip so that you have that extension in the front of your leg, but you're not arching through your back, you're supported in the front. Tap your knee down almost to the ground and then lift right back up. Tap it down, lift so your hip is an extension. Don't worry about the lower portion of your leg, for now at least. For 5, 4, feel your hamstring and your glute squeeze slightly at the top. 2, last one, leave it up. Lower it down an inch, lift an inch. Or you can just think about squeezing that glute and hamstring, and it might not even move, and that's awesome. 5, 4, 3, 2, last one. Bend your knee, tap it onto your left calf, and then extend your leg long. And then tap it and extend. Tap and extend. So you're getting a little bit of internal rotation through that right leg, and then extend it straight back behind you. And if it's too much to extend your leg, then you're just gonna tap and lift. Extend. 4 more. 3, 2, abs are drawing in. Last one. Leave your leg long, bend it in, and extend. Bend and extend. Press away from the floor with your upper body. Don't let it sink. 3, 2, last one. Bend it in, reach it up for 8, 7, 6, tiny pulses. 3, 2, 1, bring that leg in. And then sit back on your heels, give your left or right side a break for a second. And then you're gonna come back onto your forearms. And then same thing, so you're just gonna start, lift and lower, making sure that you're not moving like this, dropping your ribs, so keep them lifted, everything drawn in away from the floor, pressing your forearms into the floor, so your chest is lifted as well.
A little bit more weight into your left side so you're square. If you're not totally square, that's also fine, but as square as you can be. 3 more. 2. Last one, pause with that extension through the hip. Tiny pulses up, 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 up. Squeezing that glute and hamstring for 4, 3, 2, 1. Bend that knee, tap it against the right thigh or right calf, extend, bend, extend. And as you're extending, feel the squeeze of the glute, the squeeze of the hamstring, maybe even the calf, but also your abdominals. 3, 2. Last one, extend your leg long, bend it in, and extend, bend, and extend. To extend, think about lifting your knee slightly. 4, 3, 2. Thigh stays lifted. Last one, bend, lift your thigh for 10, 9, 8, 5, 4, 3, 2. Last one. And then bend your knees wide into a child's pose and sit back. You can roll from one side to the other on your forehead if your neck needs a little rest, if you have some tension in your shoulders. And then you're going to come onto all fours for the last time. From here, you're either going to come into a plank or you're going to bring your knees back behind you. So the first thing, if your knees are back behind you, you're going to start in a plank position on your knees and then come back into child's pose and then come back to that kneeling plank position. And if you're on your toes, you're here, supported in the front, pressing back into down dog and then coming back. So pick your poison. We're going to stay here for a moment and then reach back, reach through the arms, whatever position you're in, press through the hands, lift through the torso, and then come back. And then into your plank, and then back. 4 more like this. Really drawing your abs in, and make sure you're breathing because it's really, really, really hard to move if you're not breathing. If you're smiling, if you're laughing, that all works. Just don't hold your breath. Last one. Good, and then hold here. If you want to be on your knees, that's fine too. We're going to do push-ups. You're going to bend your elbows back, extend your head away from your heels, and then lower all the way down and press back up. And if you're on your toes, the same thing. All the way down, back up. All the way down, exhale on the up. 4, 3, 2. Last one. Everyone into child's pose. And then take a breath. And then come back into your plank, whichever one you so choose. Last time, you're going to shift your weight forward, shift it back. Shift it forward, shift it back. You can also be on your forearms and toes. One more time. And if you're in a modified plank, come onto your forearms the last time. Bend one knee, bend the other knee. Bend one, bend the other. Abs draw in for 10, 7, 5, 3, 2. Last one. Drop your knees and come all the way back and exhale. Come into a downward dog. Bend your knees a whole bunch and then walk your hands back towards your feet. Bring yourself over to the left. Shake your head yes and no. Over to the right. Shake your head yes and no. And then to the center. Weight into your heels. And then weight into your toes. And then back to your heels. One more time to your toes. Find that spot where your toes are spread wide. Your weight is even through your feet. Bend your knees a whole bunch. Draw your abs away from your thighs. Get your ribs and hips connect. And then curl yourself up. One vertebrae at a time. Arms are relaxed. Let your head find its place on top of your spine. Hold on, I'm moving you over here. And then reach your arms up. Grab onto your left wrist. Reach up and over to the right. Really feel yourself anchor down through the left side. Reach long through your fingertips on the left. And then come back up. Grab your right wrist up and over. Reach long through that right side. Anchor through your right foot. One more time, deep side. And then back up, last one. And then reach your arms up, arch your back, whatever feels good, and then round all the way forward, drop down towards the floor. And then last time, take one big inhale down, and then exhale, draw your abs in, and then curl yourself all the way up, one vertebrae at a time, and find yourself standing up